And good night, good night. Hello, everybody. Tonight, we continue to build on the Limitless Living Action Plan. That's the Health Action Plan. If walking, which we talked about last week, was the rhythm, then fasting is the reset. And in this episode, we're going to dial into how fasting physically transforms your metabolism, how it heals your hormones, and how it rewires your energy system. We're going to be talking a little bit about mindset and emotions, but mostly concentrating on our health and how our physical bodies respond to fasting. This is strictly about what happens in your body when you fast. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes and get off of medications. We're talking to people who want to improve their metabolism, people who want to be healthy. That's right. And we are living limitlessly. And so limitless living says that we're not allowing anything from outside of us or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be successful as it relates to our health or any other aspect of our lives. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And just let you know that I'm happy that you're here. If you do have questions as we go through the episode, go ahead and drop those in the chat or in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you and get to those as we move through the space. If you know how we do it, if you haven't been with us before, there are some things we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. We're going to take a look at my blood sugars and take a look at my report so that you can see what's been going on with me personally in terms of my metabolism. And let's go ahead and so you get to see. So I've got my monitors over here. I've got my Keto Mojo. I've got my Contour, and then of course over or right down below me you'll see that I have there, that is my Dexcom Clarity Report. I see some of our community members already dropping in, so we'll say hello to them as well as we get through the episode. I want to first of all say to you, if you have not been joining us for our morning walk and our morning strength training, you are missing out. I'm telling you, it has been an amazing process. We started this in January 1. We walked for 109 days, and then we started our strength training series. We're actually in day number 16. So the goal is for you to begin having a space where you can have dedicated time for your metabolism. That's what we're all about. And we'll get more into that as we get into the episode tonight. Whatever platform you're joining us from, I welcome you, whether you are on Instagram or you are on Twitch or LinkedIn or Facebook or, of course, here on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited about this because it is a space where we get to do what? We get to improve our health. We get to go to that next level. One of the things that has been frustrating, not just me personally, but in terms of practice and in terms of not just our country, but the world. Right now, there are over 1 billion people on the planet with prediabetes or diabetes, and we here get to say that we do not have to continue having all of those disease processes, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at let me go ahead and pull up blood sugars so we can look at that here. Let's see, where is my Dexcom Clarity? There we go. All right, so let's take a look at blood sugars and see where we have been. If you've been out there and you've been following us, I did have my visit with my doctor on last Friday, and I got my results, and so excited to share that with you. We'll probably do a show at some point where we get to look at some of that. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars right now. Here is what my Freestyle Libre says that my blood sugars are at this moment, and you'll see there 91. You'll see earlier in the day, kind of right around lunchtime-ish, right after lunch, we spiked up into maybe 125 and then back down. We'll take a look at my Dexcom, and my Dexcom, as you know, has been a bit odd recently, so I had to change this on Friday, and I think I'm gonna change it again, because you see there my Dexcom is about 20 or so points higher than what my Libre has been. And so right here my Libre got up to maybe 130, Dexcom got up to 170, and then right now my Libre is in the 70s and Dexcom is in the 130s. So let's go ahead and we're gonna take a look at the Keto Mojo and see what that is showing right now. Let me do one thing over here really quickly. Here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at that right now. Let's hop over and take a look to see what these guys are going to say. All right, let's see. So I've got my Keto Mojo, and let's go into my little container, and let's grab, let's see, I need one for ketone of glucose, which is the brown, and then of course ketone is with the blue. And I've got some Lancets. I'll take 2 out because, as you know, I don't want to have to stick myself twice, but sometimes that does happen. And then here is a strip for the contour. All right, let's go ahead and pull that out. Here we are. Get that one in there. And then these guys, I think I figured out how to open them now. You got to tear it right down the middle. There you go. I think that's much easier. So I've been trying to tear it from the side. That didn't quite work. So get this one in, and I'm going to go ahead and open the ketone one as well. What do you think my ketones are? By the way, I haven't been fasting since Friday, so we broke the fast on Friday, and I took a quick trip. Did I post anything? I took a quick trip to New York, and that's an interesting story. So here is my Lancet. Let's go ahead and get a good drop of a brisk drop there. Okay, ow. Maybe, I don't think that one is it gonna give me a good, okay, yeah, there we are. So on Friday, I was heading up to New York. So 92 is what that says. That's the contour, that's the Keto Mojo. And then the contour says 104, right? And you'll see there on the screen, let's pop that up. You see that my Dexcom says 130 and my Libre says 90. And let's go ahead and grab ketone and get that started. So I was going up to New York, and we were having some storms here when my flight was supposed to leave. And so my plane got delayed. They actually redirected my plane, or diverted my plane to Birmingham. So I ended up not leaving Friday night. So I ended up leaving Saturday, but they couldn't get me to New York. So 0.2 is what the ketones are. So 0.2, remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that considered therapeutic ketosis. And I do see some community members out there that are guessing, and I see somebody got it right. So let's hop over. We're gonna take a look. But so I ended up getting to New York on Saturday. I got to New York about Saturday at 3 o'clock, and then I left New York. I got to the airport to come back at 3 o'clock that morning. So I was in New York about 12, maybe 15 hours. So that was a very interesting trip. All right, so that's what my blood sugars are. Let's go ahead and let's hop over and take a look at my monitor, or my report. And so you can see that. And so here is what my average blood sugar is for the last 14 days, 129. I usually tell people I want it to be between 100 and 120. Here's what my estimated or glucose management indicator is, 6.4. I'm in target 93% of the time, which you see right there. And that target is 70 to 180. Okay. If I grab this and I go ahead and say 90 days, which is what we typically will look at for an A1C, and you'll see my average is 120 with a glucose management indicator of 6.2. I'm in target 88% of the time, Target once again being anywhere from 70 to 180. And if we look at the daily graphs, we'll see what this is. Remember, this is this is one that's a bit skewed, I believe, based on what I'm getting from the other 3 monitors, and they all kind of agree with each other. And so here we are. So this is where we are right now, 128. And kind of going backwards. And you'll see, if you remember, my Dexcom or my Libre showed that my average blood sugar got up to about 125. And here you see after lunch, this one got up to 170-ish. And so once again here, and this one, when this was saying 213, and this was Sunday, my Libre, for my Freestyle Libre, was saying about 150 or thereabouts. So I think I'm going to change this one again. As you remember, we changed this last week. So I'm not sure what's going on with this batch of Dexcoms that I have. Okay, anyway, so that is where we are. And we'll come back and we'll take a look at that again as we move throughout the week, because we'll be doing our fasting check-in and so forth over the course of the week. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's say hello to some of our community members who are out there. I do see some of you, so let's see who we have. So Jennifer looks like she was the first one on the scene, and Jennifer's saying howdy all. Hello, Jennifer. Hello to you. And then Gian saying hi, Doctor. Hello, Limitless Living Gang. Hello, Jennifer from Gian. Hello, Dr. Jennifer. Gian from Cornelia. Hey, Cornelia, what's up? Gian says hi. And then here comes Pamela. Hello, all from Pam. Hi, Pam. Cornelia saying hi back. And then Anthony. Anthony, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hey, guys, this is a classmate, friend of mine from back in the day. Gian, hi, Anthony. Pamela saying hi to Anthony. And Lorraine Elliott. Hey, Lorraine, thanks for coming back, coming through again. Good to see you again. And then Gian saying hi to Lorraine. Pamela. Oh, let me pop that up. Hi, Anthony. Hey, everybody. Hi, Lorraine. Pamela saying hello. Just Dexcom in temperament. She said Dexcom is temperamental. And Gian says she guessed my ketones were going to be 0.3, pretty close. And Jennifer hit it right on the money. 0.2 is what it was. Gian says, Jennifer, you got this. Good job. And then Bowie saying hi to everybody. Hey, Bowie from everybody, from Pamela. And Teresa. What's up, Teresa? Hey, doctor and everyone. And Gian saying hi to Teresa. Yeah, so glad that you guys are all here, all in the space. And so let's go ahead and let's hop in and let's have our conversation about our health action plan. And in particular, today we're talking about fasting. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our conversation. So tonight we're continuing to build on our Limitless Living Action Plan. And if you remember, the Limitless Living Action Plan is it's a blueprint for the active part of what we've been doing. We, several weeks ago, went through the health pillars, right? The pillars of health. And we walked through that because, as I've been saying, they are the basis for us to understand the peripheral things. And I say peripheral not to mean that they are insignificant, but peripheral to mean that they are the things that surround us, right? Our environment, our relationships, our health, our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health, all of those are things that surround us. But as I've said before, if we learn those things, but we don't have any action, then those things are just theory. And the things that we use, the things that we learn, the mindset changes that we learn are just theory. They are just great words and great things that we hear. They do help to change our thought process, but if we don't have action, then they are not of a lot of benefit. Because we want to know on a regular, like every day, when the rubber hits the road, what are we going to do? And so the Limitless Living Action Plan, Health Action Plan, gives us the ability, right, to walk along and say, okay, what are the things that we're doing to be able to put into practice the things that we talk about? And so tonight we are continuing in that vein. We introduced that a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the walking, which was the first pillar last episode, and tonight we are going to dive into our second. Okay. Now these two, walking and fasting, I kind of call the first tier. Right? These are, and the reason I'm doing these together and these first is because, as I mentioned before, walking is simple. Walking is free. Walking gets you into the habit of taking care of yourself. So we're building a comprehensive approach to reversing diabetes and restoring metabolic health. This is what the Health Action Plan is. And so the tier 1 has those two components. So if we say that walking creates the rhythm, it gets you into the habit, it is providing for you the consistency that you need, then fasting is a reset to the triggers of your metabolism. And so we want to talk about this second component of really kind of the base tier of the Health Action Plan, and why it's not just a strategy, but it is a physiological transformation tool. That's what fasting is. So what does fasting actually do? What does it actually do in our body? So let's start with this. And fasting is, at its base, as you heard me say before, it is not starvation. It is the intentional, it is the structured abstinence from nutrients. In our case, we're doing calorie removal. I was going to say restriction because I want to get away from that word restriction. I spend a lot of time today talking to people about the fact that it is not a restrictive process that we're talking about. And we'll make a mention of that here in just a minute. And it is one of the most powerful, fasting is, one of the most powerful metabolic tools that we have access to. Once again, like walking, fasting is free. Fasting doesn't cost any money. Fasting doesn't require any special tools. It doesn't require any special purchases. It doesn't require any. You don't have to go anywhere, right? I'm trying to get my. There we go. So fasting doesn't require any of that. And fasting can be simple, just like walking. Now, let me hasten to say, it is possible to overcomplicate both fasting and walking. It is possible to overcomplicate the Health Action Plan that we're talking about. But this plan is designed for anybody who says, hey, you know what? I want to improve my metabolism. I want to reverse my diabetes. I want to get better blood sugars, better cholesterol. I want to decrease my weight. I want to deal with my fatty liver. I want to deal with my metabolic syndrome. Anyone can pick up the Health Action Plan and say, okay, what is number 1? What's number 2? What's number 3? What's number 4? And if they walk through that process, that structured process, then metabolism improves, and all the downstream things that are plaguing us, improve as well. So here's what happens when you fast. And I want to couch this on something that we've discussed before, and it is the reversal of diabetes. Why do we use reversal of diabetes? As you hear me talk about that all the time, right? Reversing diabetes. And it is simply because diabetes is the ultimate form of this metabolic disease process that we talk about. Remember, metabolism is simply the body's ability or the function or the process that the body takes to convert what you eat into energy. That is what metabolism is. And dysfunctions along the metabolic process is what leads to all of the downstream difficulties that we see when we talk about disease process, these chronic diseases that everybody talks about. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, so on and so forth. But the ultimate form of that we have seen in our lifetime, in our society, around the globe, in the country, is diabetes. And so anytime we can do something to improve diabetes, reversing diabetes, then those same things will work for the things downstream. Okay? So diabetes. So insulin. Did I say insulin? Yes, insulin is the culprit. and everybody has heard about insulin resistance. And we probably should rename insulin resistance to not insulin resistance, but hyper, meaning too much insulin. Because insulin itself is not dangerous. Pause for effect. Insulin itself is not bad. Once again, pause for effect. Why do I say that? Because our bodies produce insulin. Insulin serves a function in the body. It is not the insulin that is the problem. It is the amount of insulin, the super amount of insulin that's in the body that causes an issue. Let me give you an example. All right, you ready? Okay. So water, drinking water, is not bad. Everybody loves water. Water is great. We tell people drink water, drink a lot of water. It helps you with all the things. It lubricates your body. It keeps you hydrated. It keeps your skin soft. It gives the body ability to transport energy around the system when the heart pumps. Water's great. But I bet you wouldn't like for me to take you and put you in a tub of water and hold you under the water, or drop you in the ocean. What's the problem? The water's not bad. It is the amount of water that becomes the issue at that point. So in our space, insulin itself is not a bad thing, because insulin has a function in the body. Insulin's main function that everybody knows, insulin's primary function is to reduce sugar. There are some other things that it does, but that's the primary function. And so everybody hears about that. And if you are not diabetic, if you are not pre-diabetic, if you are not struggling with weight problems, if you are not struggling with polycystic ovarian syndrome, if you don't have high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, if you don't have strokes, if you've not had any of those things, when you are born as a baby, if I come into your body and check your body's producing insulin. Why? Because insulin is required for life. We could not survive without insulin. It's just like we can't survive without air. But the problem is that as we are living, there are things that begin happening to us that force our bodies to make more insulin. Or in the case of a diabetic, we give the diabetic insulin. And the amount of insulin that we give a diabetic, or the amount of insulin that your body creates as a pre-diabetic, someone with metabolic disease, someone who has coronary artery disease, someone who has high blood pressure and high cholesterol, the amount of insulin that your body makes, that is where the problem comes in. Make sense? So the key really is insulin. High insulin keeps your body locked into a fat storage mode. When insulin goes down, your body unlocks access to fat and fuel. And when insulin goes down, then all the benefits that we get begin to come out. So our goal always, did I say always? Yes. Did I say always? Yeah. Our goal always is, how can we decrease the amount of insulin in your body? I want you to remember that, because that's going to be key. So anything that we could do that decreases insulin, whether it's that you are on insulin from your doctor or from me, because we're treating high blood sugars, or you're taking another medication that forces your body to produce insulin, any of those, the first thing, and when I talk to my patients in the office, the first thing I tell them to do is we've got to get rid of as much insulin from your body as possible. Because as soon as we get rid of some of the insulin, then we begin to see all the downstream benefits. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. So insulin. So when we fast, our insulin requirement goes down. Let me tell you why. Well, one example. So our process of treating diabetes is to get your body's ability, let's say this is your body's ability to manage sugar, and here's your sugar. Our goal is to get those two to be equal. So anytime your body's ability to manage sugar and the amount of sugar that's in your body equal, then medications go away, because the only reason for medication is that the blood sugars are too high and the body can't handle it. So anytime we can get those two to be equal, there's no need for medication. You're starting to see a key already, right? Okay, so we're getting rid of insulin. We're decreasing the amount of insulin. When we fast, the blood sugars go down because we're not putting anything in the body. The blood sugars stabilize. There's no spiking, there's no crashing, there's no going like this. That allows your body then to decrease the amount of insulin that you have. And we just said that as soon as the insulin goes down, then your body begins to unlock all of those. It's almost like, I like sci-fi movies. And in the movies, there's, a lot of the sci-fi movies, there's always like this, they have a book or they have a box or they have a room or they have some device that they're trying to open to get some value, right? So as soon as they open it, then everything begins happening. And I'm always like, try that key, try this key, try that key, right? And they're trying to figure out the puzzle. And as soon as they're able to open up the box, poof, or they open the door, or to open the book, or they figured out the puzzle, then they begin seeing all the benefits that come from whatever they're trying to do. And that's the same thing here. As soon as the blood sugars go down and that insulin begins to go down, then all the things that we just talked about, right? Now we can say, okay, boom, blood sugars, they're going down. Boom, high blood pressure, that's going down. Cholesterol, we can improve that. Weight begins to go down. Fatty liver begins to go down. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? And we're going, it's like a domino. Boom, 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 boom. So, insulin. And then, when we are able to decrease the insulin, because we've decreased the sugar, because we're not putting anything in, and that lock opens, we begin to get fat burning. Because once the insulin goes down, it's like a switch, right? On a light switch. I got a light switch right over there. That's what I'm pointing. So when insulin comes out, it turns that switch on. When insulin shows up, it turns the switch on that says, everything now that you put in your mouth, I need you to start storing it. So you're eating broccoli and you're putting on weight. You're eating salad, you're putting on weight. You lick a grape and you put on weight. You look at a grain of rice and weight goes on. And you're like, I don't understand. Because I'm eating less, I may be even exercising, and I'm still putting on weight. My weight's not changing. Why? Because insulin turned the switch on. And insulin is saying everything that you put in your mouth from now on, and it's not from now, I think it's about 24 to 36 hours. Everything that I put in my mouth, when that switch is on, boom, it's getting stored. But once that insulin turns off, then the things that you're putting in your mouth, they're not getting stored anymore. Right? Your liver begins converting stored energy or stored fat into energy. This is called lipolysis. And the liver says, I don't have to store it anymore because I'm not being told, I'm not being convinced, I'm not being pushed to store anything anymore. I can take the stuff that's already in me and I could break that down for energy. So that switch got flipped. And we go from storing to burning. You go from thinking you're starving to healing. That's the process. That is the beauty of fasting. That's what's going on in your body. Now, how long does it take for this whole process to begin? And that's a question that I get from a lot of people. How long does it take? This is one of the most common questions, right? So if you've been following us on our Fridays when we do our complete review, right? Some of this should be familiar to you. The first 6 hours after you stop eating, you put something in your mouth, you've been eating. When you stop eating, the first 6 hours is what's called the postprandial period. And that's the period where the body is taking all the food that you just ate, it's chopping it up, it's breaking it apart, it's pulling out the proteins from here, pulling out the fat from there, pulling out the carbohydrates from there, is getting the calcium and the sodium and the potassium, it's taking out the zinc and all the other minerals, the iron. And it's taking all those, it's crushing them up, and it's sending them to different places that they need to go. It's kind of like when you come home from the grocery store, right? You went to one of your big box stores. This is your grocery shopping for the week or whatever. And you come home and you've got all the stuff in your car. And you bring it all into the house and you begin sorting it, right? So the cans go in the pantry. The cold stuff go in the refrigerator. The frozen stuff go in the freezer. The bag of rice go in the pantry. Whatever it is. So you're sorting it and you're putting it where it needs to be. That's what happens when you stop eating. The body now has to take all the stuff you ate and it has to sort through it and send it to the appropriate place. That happens within the first 6 hours. 6 to 12 hours. After 12 hours, after everything is put away, like when you come home, after you've put everything away, then you come out and you say, okay, what am I going to cook? And what do? You go back to the refrigerator and say, oh, that's right, we put this in the refrigerator. We go to the freezer and say, okay, we're going to put that out. You go to the pantry and you pull some stuff out. So after 12 hours in your body, that's what begins happening. The body's already sorted it, it's stored it, and now it's going back and say, okay, let me take it out and let me go ahead and cook it. During that process, the insulin is actually dropping because the insulin doesn't have to store anything anymore. It's already done its storage job. If you're fasting. But what happens to us, right? We stop eating. So we ate like at 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 hours later, just as the body's getting ready to say, hey, I've put everything away, what do we do again? We eat. And what does the body have to do again? It has to go get all stuff in the store. So it never gets a chance to go to the pantry. It never gets a chance to go in the refrigerator. It never gets a chance to go to the freezer to take stuff out. We're putting more stuff in. But when we fast, that process of sorting through stuff, we do that once. And then now the body says, hey, wait a minute. I've put everything away. What do I do now? Now it begins going to the fat cells. It begins going to the liver. It begins going to the muscles and say, hey, give me energy so that I can function, so I can run the brain, and I can run the heart, and I can run the muscles, and I can help them breathe, and I can help them think. That happens in that 12 hours. And then 16 or 18 hours, we begin to enter into light ketosis. So people say, well, what are ketones? Well, ketones, if you think about, and we have these modern cars now, which is great. But the cars that we have, the body is like a car. And so in the cars, they burn fuel, and out the back of the car comes out exhaust. right? So we're burning fuel up here, and that is being converted into exhaust. We get the energy, but that's waste product. The body, when it goes into ketosis, this idea of ketosis, when it burns fat, the exhaust that comes off of the fat is called ketones. Those are called ketones. So when the body burns fat, it converts that to energy, but some of the waste product is called ketones. Now, not all ketones are good, because that's why people who have type 1 diabetes, when they go into DKA or diabetic ketoacidosis, that's why it's a problem for them, because their body it does not have the ability to process the exhaust. Which is why if you're out there and you are type 1 and you are going to fast, you're planning to fast, you're trying to figure out if you can fast, make sure you talk to your doctor. And for everyone to know, everybody listen to me, it is not that type 1 patients cannot fast. That is not true. That is not a true statement. The issue is, it is sometimes challenging to figure out when the type 1 person gets into trouble based on ketones. For type 2s, it's not a big deal, not as big a deal, right? Because we don't tend to go into DKA. But for type 1s, they can go into DKA, and that's where we have to be careful with them. But it's not that they cannot fast, okay? So once again, they can fast. Check with your doctor, by the way. All right, so so we're talking about ketones. So that's what ketones are. And the beauty of this is, right? Even though the body is giving off these waste products called ketones, some of those ketones are beneficial to the body. So it's not like the exhaust where everything that comes out is dangerous. Some of the ketones that the body makes, very important, like beta hydroxybutyrate, which helps to stimulate the brain. When your body fasts, an important hormone comes out. Now, the anterior pituitary, which is a gland that sits right behind the eyes in the brain, the anterior pituitary gives off 6 hormones: thyroid, adrenocorticotropic hormone, growth hormone. The pituitary is responsible for menstrual cycles by giving off LH and FSH. Those are sex. They control the sex hormones, and prolactin, which is responsible for helping women being able to breastfeed. And then it also gives off this thing called growth hormone. And growth hormone is the hormone in a child that helps them to grow. Make sense? That's right. It helps them to grow. What does it do, though, in an adult? It helps to maintain muscle mass. It helps with cellular repair. And when you fast, the brain says, hey, it looks like they are doing something that requires me to produce hormone. And so the growth hormone comes up. And so that's why we get better muscle mass and better cellular repair. That's at 24 hours. And then we can go on and on with further down the road. But an important one that I want to say before we move off of this space is that there is a process called autophagy. Autophagy is the body's ability to repair and clean up itself by doing some recycling. This all happens within the fasting process. Now, you don't need to fast for days and days and days and days to get benefit. Even when we're doing intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, right? 16 and 8. This can make a profound impact over time. Now remember, we are not in the process of giving you something that for you to do tomorrow or next week or the next month or for 2 months. What we're working on a blueprint that you get to use from now on. So what is the power of ketosis? The power of ketosis. So when insulin drops, when insulin goes down and your body starts burning fat, the liver makes ketones, which is the alternative source, the waste product from the alternative source, which is fat. But the brain can use ketones. The muscles can use ketones. Ketones help to preserve lean muscle. It enhances mental clarity, reduces inflammation, improves something called mitochondrial function. And mitochondria are those batteries that are in the body that are responsible for the conversion of food into energy. And so ketosis isn't just about weight loss, it's about metabolic efficiency. So when we fast, the body is in the process of resetting. I want you to remember that word. It is resetting itself. So it is learning now that it does not have to have food coming in every 6 hours or every 4 hours. It is learning how to move from burning the food you just ate to burning the food that's in the fat cells. That's called metabolic adaptation. Other than that, the body doesn't have to adapt. It's kind of like I know some. I'm bad on cars sometimes. I was gonna say not sometimes. I'm always bad on cars. Okay. And one of the things that I do, and don't judge me, please, is I drive my car until it needs gas. And how do I know it needs gas? It needs gas when the light comes on. Now, there are times when I don't do that, right? I see, I'm attentive enough, so I see the gauge go down. It's like, oh, I'm going somewhere, or we're getting ready to travel tomorrow, or I'm going in for the weekend. Let me go get some gas. So I'll do that. But other than that, right, when that light comes on, that's when the car needs gas. There are some other people, some of you out there, and other people who live near me, who, when it gets to quarter tank, they fill it up. Some people get half the tank, they fill it up. Okay? Now, think about the body in the same way, like a car, and we filled it up by eating. You ate breakfast, boom. That food that you ate, we said it takes about 6 hours for the body to process it, to sort it. So for 6 hours, you don't need to eat anything because the body's still sorting. And then, after the 6 hours, after it's finished sorting everything, then it has to go to the liver and says, hey, give me some of that stuff back, like when you come home from shopping. And now it begins processing it. So for 12 hours after you finish eating, you don't actually need to eat anything. But think about that car, right? So you fill it up and you drove away. You drove down the road and you're like, hey, wait a minute, the gas is down. And then you come back and you fill it up. And you drive away down the road, you come back and you fill it up. And you drive away and you come back and fill it up. Right? So that gas never has to be used, it's never really used up. And so that's the process that happens in our bodies often. When we are not fasting, we continually put stuff in. We continually fill the car back up. And so the body never has to tap into, like people say, well, how do I get rid of this fat? How do I lose weight? How do I improve my blood sugar? Well, if your body doesn't have to access the stored energy, there's no way to lose weight. And this isn't let me cut back on my diet today, right? That's a whole, I'll mention that here in a minute. So how does fasting affect hormones? This is my specialty, right? So let's get into hormones. So there are 4 hormones that I want you to think about. One is insulin. We just talked about it goes down. When you decrease insulin, it unlocks the fat burning. It affects leptin, which normalizes, so improves your appetite or your satiety. It says you're not hungry. It stabilizes ghrelin, which says that, hey, I am hungry. So when ghrelin goes down, you don't have to eat. And then here's one. Adiponectin rises. And this improves the body's sensitivity to insulin and to fat metabolism. So not only are we decreasing the insulin, but we have a hormone that now tells the body that it should be able to work on the decreased amount of insulin that we have. That comes out during fasting. And if we've done all the things that we've just talked about, decreasing what we're putting in, decreasing the insulin, decreasing our appetite, saying I'm not hungry, and having adiponectin, which makes the insulin work better, you don't need medication to shift your hormones. You don't need medication to improve your blood sugar. All you need is space, metabolic space, so that your body can do what it was designed to do. And fasting gives your body the chance, gives it the space to be able to do all of that. Fasting says, hey, I'm gonna hold off on putting any, I'm not going to the grocery store. Right? Go into the cabinets, go into the pantry, go into the refrigerator, and use the stuff that's there. Because when you do that, that becomes empty, and then now I can go back and do more stuff. Now, here's the beauty of this. You want to hear it? The beauty of that whole process is that because we're given the body space to be able to go through that process, it gets smarter. And so when we do put stuff in, it metabolizes it much easier and much better. That's why people who fast will say, man, when I finish fasting, those days right after I fast, I ate, and they'll pick something, right? Something that they couldn't eat before, and it didn't spike my blood sugar that high. Or I didn't feel as sleepy. Or it didn't cause upset stomach. Why? Because your body is resetting when you're fasting. Fasting also improves inflammation. Now, a lot of us have guts, right? So if you've been following me on strength, strategy, and mindset, you see, I think the episode this morning, I did a little modeling, right? So go ahead and watch that. So you got to see me without my shirt, right? And we're working on how do we tone, right? We're walking through that process together. So chronic inflammation comes from the gut. A lot of the inflammatory processes that go on in the body are stimulated. They are enhanced. They are worsening because the gut, the fat that's here, right? This stuff right here produces things called cytokines. They produce pro-inflammatory substances. And those pro-inflammatory substances cause the body to be insulin resistant. Chronic inflammation drives diabetes. Chronic inflammation drives heart disease, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Chronic inflammation is a corollary, that it is an associated problem with hyperinsulinemia. Hyperinsulinemia and chronic inflammation go hand in hand. And so fasting lowers the inflammatory markers in your body, like C-reactive protein. Sometimes you'll see your doctor will get that, right? Particularly if those of you who've had heart disease, the reason they check the C-reactive protein is to see what is the level of the inflammation that's in your body. Interleukin-6, which is one of the things that comes from this stuff here. That's pro-inflammatory. Something called TNF alpha, or tumor necrosis factor. So in short, fasting cools the internal fire that's there. It helps to decrease the inflammation. It helps to lower our insulin. It helps to turn off the switch that says store. It helps to sensitize our body to insulin so we don't require as much insulin. Last week, we introduced walking. Now, when you pair walking with fasting, you get faster fat burning because your body needs fuel to walk. It pulls from the stores. And because the insulin level has already gone down, it has to go to the stores. It's not storing anymore. It lowers your cortisol level. So walking reduces stress. We've talked about that. And because your stretch is down, the amount of sugar, remember we talked about the magic thing of diabetes is to get the sugar to match what your body can make. So if my cortisol goes down and my sugar comes down, I'm getting closer to what my body's able to do. And that gives us better blood sugar stabilization. And when we are able to pair walking with fasting, our body has to pull out more stuff from the pantry, from the storage, from the refrigerator. That allows us to fast easier with less discomfort because we have a ready source. There's a funnel that's coming. When we don't fast, right, our blood sugars are much more fluctuant. They rise and fall. But when we're fasting, the body gives us a constant, a purer source, if you will, of energy. So we don't have those cravings. So walking and fasting together, amazing. There's a synergistic metabolic healing that's going on when we do that. And these two, walking and fasting, are simple. They are free. Fasting comes in lots of different forms, and not all fasts are created equal, right? So there's time-restricted eating, or intermittent fasting, as some people call it. There's 1 meal a day. There's 36 hours, and as we do, a 72 hour each week. You can start where you are when it comes to fasting. It does not have to be, I'm fasting for 72 hours. I tell everyone that when they start, you start where you are, and the initial goal is to be able to fast for one 24-hour period once a week. So if you're starting at 12, that's great because you are starting at 12. You don't have to be at 72. You don't have to stress over the fact that you're not doing 36. You start where you are. But the goal, your initial goal, your very first step for fasting is to get to the point where you can fast for a 24-hour period. Now, what's beautiful about that is that in the process of fasting, you are going to have to adjust medication. If you're on medication, you're going to have to adjust medication because guess what? If you don't adjust medication, because your body is healing, your blood sugars are going to go down. Now, don't let that stress you. Make sure you're talking to your doctor. What I love about that is that means that my body now is doing the stuff that the medication was doing, so I don't need that much medication. But what I hear people say a lot is, man, I can't fast because I got to take my medication. I have to eat to take the medication. And I think to myself, I said, well, that's kind of backwards, isn't it? So I'm forcing you to eat so that you could take the medication. I'm forcing you to eat so you can take insulin. I'm forcing you to eat so you can take medication that produces insulin. That's backwards. So when you're talking to your doctor, talking to your healthcare provider, the conversation is, hey, my blood sugar is going down because I'm fasting, which is great because that's what we want. So how do we decrease the amount of insulin, decrease the amount of medication I'm taking so that I can keep fasting? So it's not let me go eat more so I can keep taking the same amount of medication. I hope that makes sense. So you're going to have to adjust medication. And that's diabetes medication. Because you're fasting, listen to this. Come on. This is where it gets happy. I'll get happy about this. Because you're fasting, the amount of insulin that your body has in it goes down. One of the side effects of too much insulin is that the vessels in your body become stiff. They become less pliable, less compliant. And when they become stiff, you want to think about like taking a hose, right? And there's water going through the hose. If you put your finger over the opening to the hose, what happens? The water comes out stronger and faster. That's called high pressure. So if I take your vessels and I squeeze them and make them less compliant, I'm increasing the pressure of the blood that's coming through. That's called high blood pressure. So if I decrease the amount of insulin, then those vessels, all of a sudden, they become more movable, more compliant, and the blood pressure goes down. What? What we don't talk about is the correlation between sugar and blood pressure. Everybody talks about the correlation between food and obesity and salt, right? But there is a correlation, because the higher your blood sugar is, the more insulin you have to take, or the more insulin your body has to produce. The more insulin your body produces, the less compliant the vessels become. They become harder, and the harder they become, the higher the blood pressure goes. So if you want to decrease blood pressure, yes, cut back on the salt. Yes, lose weight. But you don't want to know a big way to do that? Cut back on the sugar. Cut back on the insulin. That will also lower blood pressure. When the body can't do anything else with the sugar that you eat, you know what it converts it to? Storage. And what is storage called? Fat. I want you to listen. So when you eat something that has high carbs, the body takes it and it does its best job during those first 6 hours, those first 6 to 12 hours, to store it away, right? Well, when the refrigerator is full and the pantry is full, where do you think it puts it? Well, it puts it out in the shelter somewhere, and that's called fat cells. And so if you eat too much, then the body has to put it somewhere. We'll come to talking about food when we get to balanced bites, because it is another component of our health action plan. But fasting is tremendous in its ability to reverse the processes that we're talking about. So remember, fasting is a tool. It's not a trend. This isn't about doing what's popular. This is about creating a metabolic process. It's about creating metabolic flexibility, so your body has the abilities to switch between fuel sources with ease. Fasting improves that process and allows your body to do what it needs to do. It becomes fat adapted. It gets better blood sugar control. It improves your hormones. It improves your energy production, and it makes everything you do, listen, it makes everything you do, the things you eat, the exercise you do, the sleep you have, and all the things that we talk about, it makes them more effective. We talk about walking. We talk about exercise, and I've talked about the MOVE campaign, right? The MOVE campaign. And that is our plan with the walking that we did, 100-day walk, the strength training that we're doing. We'll talk about other components of that. But it is improving our metabolic overview, or metabolic regulation, by exercise, by moving. Here's the trick, though, and this is what we don't tell people. You want to hear the secret? I was going to say trick. This is the secret. We love exercise. We love for you to move. We love for you to remain active, right? Your cardiologist will tell you he wants your heart rate to get 220 minus your age, right? So what's your target heart rate? When people are exercising, they're always checking their pulse and looking to see, well, where did they go? When you walk, we tell you walk where you can have a conversation just slightly, but not so out of breath, right? We are shooting for those things. But here's the secret. You cannot walk enough. I'm pausing. You cannot walk enough to outdo the things that you ate. If you walk a 20-minute mile, that's 3 miles an hour, you'll burn about 360 calories, 120 calories per hour. One cookie, depending on what you eat, one cookie is 360 calories. So that means that if you ate 2 cookies, you got to walk for 2 hours. If you ate 2 cookies and you drank a glass of juice, then you got to walk for about 3 hours. If you ate 2 cookies, drank a glass of juice, ate some rice, ate some pasta, ate some broccoli, and a steak, then you got to walk for about 6 hours. But when you fast, that 24 hours, that's 24 hours of no calories. The average person eats between 18 and 2,000 calories a day. So tell me the benefit of fasting compared to all the exercising we tell. So an hour, 20-minute mile, 360 calories, fasting for 1 day, 2,000 calories. Right? So that's the beauty. It's free, it's simple, it's supercharged. The things you do in fasting, the things that happen in your body beyond the calories. And this is this is the thing right here, right? Because it gets so fun to me, because the things that happen to your body beyond the fasting, beyond the calories, are amazing. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is this: that if we continue talking, if you continue listening, if you continue planning, you're not getting any benefit. The Health Action Plan says there are some simple things that I can do. Number one, I can start walking. And we've given you the goal for walking, right? So beginner or novice, 5,000 steps, right? Intermediate, between 5 and 8,000. Pre-professional, 8 to 10,000, 10, 12,000. And professional, up to 15,000 steps a day. Now, someone said to me, hey, that's not sustainable. Walking is sustainable. Walking is sustainable. Now, you may not be able to do 15,000 steps forever, but right now you can do 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Right now you may be able to do 15,000. We're not saying that you've got to walk 15,000 steps every single day for the rest of your life, but we got to start moving. Because right now we're not moving, other than at work. Now, people will say to me, hey, well, my job is an active job, and I move around a lot. And I say to them, I'm so excited that you move around a lot. I'm glad that you move around a lot. But if you're diabetic, remember that you are fighting something that the other person at your job is not fighting. So the fact that they are moving around at the job is great, but you have an additional issue that you're trying to deal with. If you are pre-diabetic, fatty liver, obese, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of those are things that we're fighting. Make sense? Right. So walking. Number 2, fasting. And the goal for fasting is that you are working your way up to fast 1 24-hour day once a week. That is your goal. That's your initial goal. People say, where should I start? That's it. Start walking and start fasting. We'll come and we'll talk about the other parts of the Health Action Plan, but those are tier 1. Free, easily done. You don't have to get anybody's permission to do that. Always check with your healthcare provider, though. Right? I always want to say that. And you're off to the races. So as we're looking to improve our metabolism, get off of medication, reverse our diabetes, that's where you start. Anybody who walks up to me right now and says, okay, what should I do? If I want to improve my health, what should I do? Start walking, start fasting. Tier 1. Don't go out and buy gym equipment. Don't go out and join gyms. Don't go out. Start walking and start fasting. And we've given the parameters for walking. We've given the parameters for fasting. We'll come back as we continue our trek down the Limitless Living Health Action Plan as we're working to improve our health. We'll come back and talk about the next component. But right now, you have your marching orders. You've got your plan. And the plan is walking and start fasting. And your goal is to be able to fast for one 24-hour period once a week. As a start. We'll be back. All right. And so that is our pillar number 2 for the Health Action Plan. And notice the name of the plan is the Health Action Plan. The Limitless Living Health Action Plan. Now, why is the Limitless Living so important? Because remember, Limitless Living says that we are doing everything that we can. We're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be healthy. That's why Limitless Living. And Health Action Plan, that word there is action, because it takes action. You can't be at your house and not doing anything and expect that the plan is going to work. Where to start? That's it right there. Start walking. Start fasting. If you do that, as you continue down the road, you will see that your metabolism will improve. It will improve. All right, let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. I see some folks out there. Let's see. Where were we? I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. So Jennifer is there. Anthony. Okay, here we are. Let's go back up. Let's see. Here we are. Anthony says, so Jennifer said, Anthony, welcome to the group. Anthony says, good to be here, working on my discipline. Pamela says, hi, Teresa. Teresa said, I want to stay. I'm really tired, so I will just listen. And well, thank you, Teresa. Teresa says she's gonna say hi, Cornelia and everybody. Fasting is free and very simple. For all that good thing, why fasting is hard for humans. Why is fasting so hard for humans? Let me answer this. All right, let me answer this. Why is fasting so hard for humans? Fasting is hard for humans because of the heat model that we talk about. You guys remember the heat model? Fasting is hard for us because these are the things that trigger us. It is the fact that our brain tells us that there's a routine that we should be in. That our emotions tell us that the food that we eat will calm us. It will help us with the emotions. It is the fact that there are things around us that we see that cue us. And the fact that our memories, our brain, our palates remember what the things that we ate did for us. I was in New York this weekend, and I told you guys, right? Pizza, hot dog, and Chinese food. Pizza, hot dog, and Chinese food. Now, I didn't get the hot dog there, right? I was at the airport, and I had the hot dog. So I didn't get a New York hot dog. But I did get Chinese food, and I did get pizza in New York. And why? Why? Because it is a memory, it is a connection to something to my dad. And so how do you mitigate those? How do you mitigate those? I mitigate those types of situations. Like I knew I was going up to New York this weekend. And so what I did was I did my 72-hour fast. And when I got there, I didn't eat anything else. We went to a function at the church. We had, and they're like, are you not going to eat? I said, no, I'm not eating. Because I'm saving my stuff for pizza and Chinese food. Right? So you can figure out how to mitigate the fact that the triggers are there. So I tell myself, right? So last week as I was going through, right? I planned, I want you to listen to me. I planned to eat pizza, Chinese food, and hot dog. I didn't get the hot dog, right? So I didn't get my hot dog in New York, but I planned to eat Chinese food and pizza because it's a part of my plan. What we don't do often is we don't plan for those things. And so when those things happen, we think we've fallen off the wagon. We've fallen off the train. We've gone off the ranch, whatever phrases we use. But if you plan for them, they can fit right into your normal process without difficulty. Okay? All right. Cornelia says, hi, Bowie, Anthony, and Teresa. Hello, all from Steve. Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve from Gion. And Pamela saying hi, and hi, Cornelia. Awesome. All right, so that is the second component of our health action plan. It is with the intention that this is the process that we're walking through. If somebody says to you, hey, I want to get healthy, how do I get healthy? Your first two things to them, walk and fast. Hey, I want to improve my blood sugar. How do I do that? Walk and fast. I want to lose weight. How do I do that? Walk and fast. Hey, my blood pressure is high. My cholesterol is high. I got fatty liver. How do I improve that? Walk and fast. Tier number 1. That's the first tier. They are the simplest things. They are the easiest things. They are the freest things. Right? So no, don't tell them to go out and buy this and buy that or join the. No, that's not what they need to do. Start walking, start fasting. And now you have the parameters, right? They're starting off, then 5,000 steps a day and working their way to be able to fast 1 24-hour period. Right? Awesome. So we are in that process. Okay, so we will come back next week. We'll talk more as we move through the health action plan. We will start our fasting. Oh, by the way, let me drop this in there. So I start my fast on Tuesday after lunch. We do lunch. And I usually start about 12:30 to 1. So tomorrow I'm going to plan to start at 1 o'clock. So if you are interested in fasting, right, I'm going to be fasting. Tuesday to Wednesday, 1 day, that's 24 hours. Wednesday to Thursday, another day, and then Thursday to Friday. So if you are working on your 24-hour, you can join me at any one of those, right? You can start with me at lunch. You can start with me the second day. You can start with me the third day. Wherever you want to join. If you want to do a 16-8, you can start with me at lunch and just do a 16-hour fast. So I encourage you to come join me. I'm going to plan to go live, not from here, probably from my office or wherever I'm eating, so that you can see what it is I'm eating as I eat my last meal. In fact, I don't know what we have planned for lunch for tomorrow, so I have to look at that to see whether it's an appropriate meal. But I invite you to come fast with me. Learn. Let's do it together, right? If you're in the community, if you've been working on this by yourself, don't do it by yourself. Come join us. If you are not part of our community, there should be a button down there somewhere that says join. Join us and we can work on this together as we are moving into a health space. Okay? So we'll start fasting tomorrow and we'll fast Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, essentially what we do, starting on Tuesday. Okay? On Monday, sorry, not Monday, but on Friday, we'll do a complete review of fasting. On Saturday, we'll do video from the vault at 9 p.m. Central. On Sunday, This Week in Review. And then next Monday, we'll be back in the saddle again as we continue our walk through the Health Action Plan with our third pillar as we move into this space. I'm always excited when I'm here with you. Glad that I'm here. Glad that you are here. And I look forward to seeing you as we live this limitless life, which says that we are going to do whatever we need to do, because we're not allowing anything from outside of us or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. Come on, let's do it together. We'll see you at the next episode. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. Go ahead and live a limitless life. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at the next episode.